Hello, everyone. As you can tell from my voice, uh, this is Dr. Garrett Smith. From my voice, I'm not going to be doing most of the live stream today, which is why we have guest Kelsey Kenny on today. She is our resident niacin expert, nicotinic acid or flush niacin specifically, in case anybody forgot. And also our P-glycoprotein expert, which is how your cells detox, and she's got expertise and knowledge in all sorts of other areas. I'm hoarse from cheering and yelling at my children's events all weekend, so I'm just hoarse. I actually canceled a podcast yesterday because it's just not gone away yet. And anyway, so if you have questions for Kelsey, post them in the chat. What we normally do is if you have super chats where you can do a little donation to the cause, then you can do that and your question goes to the top of the list. Otherwise, we just start at the top of the chats and we go down. Kelsey's going to pick the questions. Like if there's questions that are better for me and she feels that way, then she'll just leave those to me. If she wants to answer them, that's great. And otherwise, the things that she is the expert in, she will answer those questions. So I am going to step to the side and Kelsey's going to be answering. Kelsey's connection is a little slow, so she's just doing audio and not video. Okay. So Joe, if you can send it over to Kelsey, I'll leave her the floor.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so this is my first time doing this, but yeah, let's see if we've got any questions in the chat already. Let's see. Yeah. And again, we've got, oh, okay, here's one from Donna Israelian. I wake up at 2:30 every morning. I cannot take charcoal due to constipation. Is there anything else you can recommend for me to take at that time? Okay, Donna, are you still here? So you wake up and you can't take charcoal. Yeah, that might be more of a question for Dr. Smith with the constipation, but that's probably the bile dump happening at that time, and waking you up. And if you can't take charcoal, I think there is another option. Dr. Smith, what's the option if people aren't able to take charcoal because of constipation issues and they're having that wake up issue?
Sorry, I missed it. I was actually just posted a chat.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I just posted a chat at the bottom. One of the things, Donna, that I don't know if you've done yet, is the hydration video, which some people have said is, some people have said before that it was worth the entry fee for the course. If you're drinking too much fluids, whether during in the hours before bedtime, or you're not getting enough magnesium, or if you need magnesium or let's say a carby salty snack in the middle of the night to kind of put you back to sleep, that can be very helpful at the start. This does get better over time, but yeah, the hydration video, it's not just charcoal. Like it may be what we call I'm changing my perspective on this, but it may be what we call kind of a blood sugar drop in the middle of the night that's snapping you awake. And we need to work more on the blood sugar control. And that's definitely magnesium. We have to manipulate it at the start symptomatically, sometimes with some snacks, like a very small snack with like carbs and salt in it to get your blood sugar and your blood sodium back to normal because they crashed. And yeah, just watch that hydration video. So that's what I got on that. Okay,
cool. Thank you. Yeah, I hate to hand off the first one there to you, but I just didn't want to steer you wrong there, Donna. Okay, yeah, I see somebody, Sebastian Baron is talking about this dextrose therapy. Oh boy, yeah, we're gonna address this, or Dr. Smith is on another live stream. We plan to do it, or he planned to do it this week, but we didn't get to it. There's a lot wrong with that, and yeah, so we should should definitely address that, in a more full manner about dextrose. Let's see. Okay. Tell us about PGP. Okay, thanks, Joe. All right, we got a question from Joe. All right, yeah, my methylene blue video, I didn't cover PGP as well as I would have liked to, just running out of time, but PGP stands for P-glycoprotein, and basically in your cells, especially what's called the epithelial cells and endothelial cells in the case of your brain, they're the barriers to your body between the outside world and your body. So your gut has a barrier, your brain has a barrier, your liver has a barrier, the testes have a barrier, and these are all to protect your tissues from the outside world. Even the placenta has a barrier, and this is protection for you. You got to protect your gametes in the testes. Obviously, you got to protect the the liver as much as you can, and the guts. You have to have some sort of barrier there. You don't want everything leaking through. And one way the body does this on a cellular level is it has this, I guess you could call it a structure, or many of these structures called P-glycoproteins, and they're especially prevalent in these barriers that I just mentioned. And what happens is they are for getting toxins out of the cell. So for whatever reasons, you took ivermectin, you took, you took a drug, you took Tylenol. There's many what's called substrates that PGP works on. And it will basically use ATP inside of the cell to chuck it right back out into the lumen, it's called. So it gets inside your cells and it wants to, push it out into the outside world so you can flush it out. The reason why we talk about this is because this is an important part of the blood-brain barrier. And I think people have heard about that too. Why certain drugs can't get past there, or why, let's say taking GABA, for instance, doesn't always work. Some people say that you can test the quality and how well your blood-brain barrier is working if you take some GABA, and if it makes you feel kind of, woozy, like you had a little bit of alcohol, that means that your blood-brain barrier might not be working so good. That's what I've heard. I'm not sure if that's true, but I don't know. I'd have to investigate that a little bit more. The reason why we talk about it, though, is because there's a lot of drugs and natural compounds that are inhibitors of this mechanism, and we talk about it. There's a lot of natural ones too that we have to watch out for. And what's so diabolical about taking PGP inhibitors is that they are being pushed alongside of toxic things like ivermectin. And then you got to think, like, even if we eat really, really cleanly, there's always going to be some pesticide residue, some sea trails, if you know what I mean. There's, you going to a place and there's cleaning products that you're not used to. We're always going to have something like that. And if you're taking a lot of PGP inhibitors, your cells just aren't going to be able to chuck those xenobiotics, that means other than, biological, so something man-made chemicals. You won't be able to chuck those out back into the gut, and that's the first line of defense for elimination, right? So, yeah, and we're also discovering that PGP has a lot to do with ALDH too, like the same things that inhibit PGP inhibit ALDH, which is interesting. So when these like frontline doctor types are recommending ivermectin with quercetin, or what's another one? piperine or black pepper, turmeric. There's just so many. I have a document of like over 400 natural PGP inhibitors, and they're in so many foods. And there's very few inducers too. So there's very few things that actually help this process happening. And some inducers are just because the thing is so darn toxic that your body it starts putting more of these, goes into panic mode almost and starts chucking things out at a higher rate just to get rid of it. Oh, so, okay, so that's the basics of PGP, and let's see, where were we? What do I think of NAC? Yeah, I'm all right. So this is one of those things that I get suspect of because it's been so popular and because there was a supposed shortage of it and they were going to ban it, but they never ended up doing it. And what does it cause when you pretend like you're going to ban something, right? Like they're going to ban it on Amazon. Maybe they did, I don't know, but it's not hard to get other places. You start a buying spree. Also, I think pharma wanted to patent this compound as well too. So it's just a little sussy, and it is sulfury, and we know that sulfur can inhibit our detox. And I'm just, yeah, I don't know too much about it. I know I've taken it and didn't find it to be helpful. And its popularity and the repetition just has me a little bit sussy. I wish I could go into that. I'm not really sure how to do what Dr. Smith does and do the thing where we do the live research investigation here to give you a better answer. But yeah, that's what I have to say about it for now. Maybe I can talk about that further. All right. We have another question from Donna again. Kelsey, if I'm taking a 16th teaspoon of flesh niacin, how much potassium citrate can I add to that if I am trying to up my potassium citrate, or should I also increase my flesh niacin? Okay, so we don't, potassium citrate is neutral already. What we're doing when we're buffering the niacin is we're adding the nicotinic acid to a base. So the appropriate buffer for that would be potassium carbonate, and that's not too hard to get on the Amazon either. I don't know how much potassium citrate you want to add, but Dr. Smith, he buffers his niacin and then he puts potassium citrate in there too sometimes. So you can do that, but it's not going to buffer your niacin. Essentially, there might be a little bit of a reaction that happens. I'm not entirely sure why, what's going on there, but essentially, it's not going to help buffering your nicotinic acid. Potassium citrate is already technically neutral. Yeah, so it's like I don't even have potassium citrate. If I want to make potassium citrate, I take potassium carbonate and citric acid, non-GMO, of course. So that's how I make my potassium citrate, and it's kind of cool. It gets really cold, just like when you put nicotinic acid and potassium carbonate in. It's what's called an endothermic reaction. So that's kind of fun. You can feel it get cold in your hands and all fizzy. Let's see what else. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, and you could always look on the charts in the Love Your Liver program if you want to review how to do the buffering. I think I have a 16th teaspoon as low as that listed on there. But if you're really sensitive, like you do want to get a milligram scale. Volumetric won't always be like the most accurate way to do it. I did it just for like people's ease of use, but if you're super sensitive and increments of like 25 milligrams can make or break you, then you probably want to get a milligram scale and really get accurate with that. And I have charts for both. Okay, so what else? How would you handle constipation related to travel or vacation, assuming there were no diet changes, water intake is good, and exercise is all consistent? Increasing magnesium only option. Well, that's what I do. I do get the travel constipation, and I feel like what's going on is that you're in a new place, and somewhere in your your hindbrain, your more lizard brain, your more basic instincts is you're in a new place and you're not sure where the food source is going to be. So I almost feel like your body wants to kind of hold on to your nutrition. And, in general, stress too is not good for constipation. But what I do, because I do get this, is I do bring magnesium oxide. And you're asking if magnesium is the only option. For me, this works well. I'm not sure what else you could do if your water intake is good, you're not changing your diet. Maybe it's as easy as saying just relax. Relax, have a good time. If you're on vacation, try to be on vacation. But I do always bring magnesium oxide with me, just the pills, and that tends to take care of it. And then it gets regular after that for me. Yeah. All right. Hope that answers your question, Alex. And we've got
put me on if you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to the travel constipation a little bit. So for whatever reason, like a lot of people, including myself, when they go on trips, as Kelsey was saying, like one of the reasons why people tend to sleep terribly when they go to a new place, especially men, you guys out there, is because you're in this new place and your reptile brain doesn't know if it's safe yet. And so as the man of the house, especially, you're supposed to protect everybody. And so your body, it's actually been shown that you don't make as much melatonin when you're in a new place. So you don't get to sleep as well the first night or two in these new places because you're supposed to be the defender and you're supposed to be awake to protect everybody else. So there are obviously changes when we go into a new place. There is stress, short term, like stress can, depending upon how acute it is, how strong it is, could suppress bile production. Like long-term stress tends to suppress bile production. This would be like when people are working on a big project for a long time, or you've had something you've been working on for a long time and you've just been really, really stressed about it. And then, so you don't tend to poop as well. The stress is getting to you. And then all of a sudden you take a vacation or you get a break or the project's done or you took the test. And then all of a sudden, once that's done and the stress relieves, then you dump a ton of bile and then you get sick or you catch a cold or a flu right after you just finished all that. Because then your body is dumping the bile. Now, sometimes acute stress will just cause you to dump a ton of bile and then you just feel terrible. So you can have these different effects of it. Now, one of the things you could do if you were going on a vacation and you knew you don't poop well, yes, you could do the magnesium. Yes, you could up your potassium. That helps pooping. You could do the other things that we talk about in the Love Your Liver program a little more to help pooping. I would, like if you were on charcoal, you might calm down on that. If that tends to constipate you at all, you might not do it while you're on vacation. So you just kind of know that you're not gonna. I mean, first you could just accept that you're just not gonna poop as well for a couple of days. It's not the end of the world, but you could even try doing some things to kind of push detox for the first couple of days. Like let's say if you know that niacin normally is a little strong for you or lactoferrin is normally a little strong for you and it really makes you dump a lot of bile, you could experiment with dumping a bit more bile for the first couple of days of your trip because you know that you're not going to be, because that's shown up in your constipation when you travel. Does that make sense? So you can manipulate your bile dumping to poop better, or you can manipulate it the wrong way to poop worse. So this is all something that you don't get to know until you experiment with it on your own. Like as an example, I was not feeling was feeling like I was, quote, coming down with something recently. And I decided, so the old me, the more toxic me years ago would have said, don't push this harder. Don't push the bile dumping harder because you're going to feel worse. But now where I'm at, I went and I was taking my 2,500 milligrams of niacin twice a day. I was walking in the heat. I did my detox gym last night where I did the tanning bed and I did the steam room and I did the cardio and I did the workout. Like I pushed it. And it was this little cold, this little bile dump that I had was like the mildest I've ever had. But it's because I'm less toxic at this point. And because I'm less toxic, I can push the gas to get through this crap. But newbies to this cannot, because you are still too toxic and you will make yourself worse and you will feel worse for a longer time. You have to evaluate where you are in the process. How crappy you feel on a daily basis, that tells you how far along you are in the process. If you feel crappy on a daily basis, you're not there yet. Okay? So me getting my cold was a little tightness in the chest and a little bit of runny nose and watery eyes. That was it. Like normally somebody might be like, oh, it's just allergies. And I was just like, oh, it's just whatever little symptoms I got. I'm sure other people are struggling with this, but for me, it was just almost nothing. So anyway, okay, I'm done. Put Kelsey back on.
Oh, there's a super. All right, there's a super chat. Thank you for filling that answer in. Awesome. Totally. Yeah. One time I even recently I had the opposite effect, and I had a big bile dump at the front of my vacation, and I felt like there was something in the airport or something. I don't know. So sometimes it can go the other way, but and it was yellow too. So, but generally I get the constipation. Okay, so we have a super chat. Hi, Zendog Breath. All right, please tell us more about your calcium nicotinate tooth powder. Tried it last time for the first time. So far, excellent. Yeah, so as if you're in the Love Your Liver program and you read my articles, you probably saw about how in the buffering article specifically, how I ruined my teeth taking unbuffered niacin. And and my mom's a dentist, and she wasn't happy when she had to, fill in all these holes. And, they didn't hurt. And I wasn't, I was really busy at the time. I wasn't really paying attention and didn't realize that my teeth were becoming rapidly, I was rapidly losing the enamel. And the way dentists can tell the difference between Mountain Dew mouth is one term for it, and acid cavities from bacteria poop is they'll look for these white lines at the base of your gum, and that's acid damage. So that's somebody who's drinking too much acid, as opposed to it being sugar, which the bacteria then eat, and then they poop out acid. So that looks a little bit different. But anyway, so I had all this acid damage, and niacin is great for the teeth, great for the gums, the tissues and everything like that. And that's probably why I wasn't having any, sensitivity or pain, and I didn't notice. But anyways, long story short, so I had to figure out a way to remineralize as much as I could. So I'm like, when I went to my mom last time to do these cavities, I said, okay, just do the worst ones, and I'm going to try to remineralize, the rest of it. And she's like, okay, good luck. And I just started looking into calcium, and I looked into research, and I looked into nicotinic acid relationship to the tooth. And I saw some research that niacin does, or nicotinate, that molecule does absorb into the tooth. And I thought that was interesting. And since I was already buffering and figuring out all these different things to buffer nicotinic acid with, I thought, okay, why not calcium? Because I had heard about Dr. Smith's he sometimes recommends the calcium therapy mouth rinse too. And I was looking into that, and I was like, hey, I could buffer niacin with calcium carbonate. So I was messing around in my lab, and I did that, and it worked, and it made a really interesting compound. You know, obviously we don't want to take calcium supplements, right? But topically, that calcium needs to be there to remineralize. So it made a nice, like, made it like almost abrasive, but very soft. Like it wasn't harsh. It wasn't like brushing with sand. So I like that. And then I looked further into the research about hydroxyapatite and nano-hydroxyapatite and all these different remedies, because people have been trying remineralization for a while, and sometimes things work and they don't. But I was really intrigued by the concept of this crystalline amorphous, like calcium amorphous. I'm going to say it wrong. Oh my gosh. It's called recaldent. We'll just say that. RECALDENT. Basically, it's casein peptides. Yeah, I know we don't like casein and stuff like that, but this is just topical, and this is the compound best supported in the research for remineralization. There wasn't a lot of positive research about hydroxyapatite for remineralization, as I would have thought. It didn't turn out to remineralize so well. But this recaldent stuff, this casein doped with basically calcium and phosphate, which is what bone is made out of, and it's what hydroxyapatite is made out of. But for whatever reason, binding it to these pieces of casein protein helped a lot more with remineralization. So they put a patent on it, and yeah, I tried the gum, but the gum's got like junk in it. Like it had aspartame. Like, who uses aspartame anymore? And then they have a toothpaste too, and there's some nasty stuff in there too that I didn't like. So I thought, okay, I want to make this myself, and make it safer, make it better. So, and also, support the gums, because if you're supporting the gums, you're supporting the pH, you're creating the best environment you can for remineralization. And you're bringing blood supply too there, so you have the niacin doing that too. Lactoferrin's great for those tissues. Folinic acid I have in there too, and it's just like all these things started to come together about what would be really good for teeth. And I've been having been hearing great things about it so far. Oh, okay. All right, Dr. Smith put in the recaldent on in there too. So I basically made this enzymatically. So instead of buying it from the company, it's like I used bromelain to break down these casein peptides, and also I have the calcium and the phosphate in there too, as well. So it's like recaldent, but better. Yeah, so that's basically the tooth powder in a nutshell. I hope I didn't get too technical with that, but yeah, thank you for your question. All right, what do we at? Okay. Talking about Hunter Biden's not buffering his meth. Yeah, that's the problem. Got to buffer your meth so you don't get you don't need caps, right? Wasn't there that one of those pictures going around? He had like his little, stubs when they're putting all your crowns on. Okay. Okay, Joe's saying, I take unbuffered niacin, I pre-rinse my teeth with water, swallow the Na mixed in rapidly. Then I rinse 3 times with water to stop the acid biting into teeth. Yeah, Joe, if you want to do that, that's okay. I think, but, I go over in the Love Your Liver program that it's not just the teeth thing. It's also kind of the acid-based balance in your body as well. It's to help with the bile dumping. It's to help with the so your body doesn't have to use its own endogenous or its own buffers that it produces. So your body has buffers too. They're not just in a package. And it's very, very important that your blood maintain the right pH. Just the smallest increases or decreases, and you're going to have a bad time. So basically, we just don't want to strain that. So since niacin absorbs so rapidly into the bloodstream, especially the stomach, especially if there's a little bit of sodium in there, we don't want to overburden that, and your body will have to, if you're introducing too much acid into the blood real quick, the body is going to have to break down an amino acid called glutamine to make ammonia to buffer that acid. And we just don't want to do that. Ammonia in your blood doesn't feel so good, and then we're wasting the glutamine because it's coming out of your cells, where your cells are using it for other very important things. So we don't have to waste that glutamine if we don't have to. And I think Dr. Smith was talking about when he was doing first starting out, and I was telling about niacin and trying to get him on the flush bandwagon. He tried it unbuffered at first, and then his boy, who has a very sensitive nose, and there's like super smellers among us certainly, and they can smell other things, and he was smelling probably some kind of ammonia smell too. And I was like, yep, that's what happens. So it does increase the amount of ammonia your body's going to have to produce. And then I think it's more of a strain on your kidneys. And somebody asked me about the gout thing the other day too. They were seeing some stuff that nicotinic acid increases the risk of gout or hyperuricemia, which means uric acid in the blood. And I just don't think that's an issue when you buffer your niacin. They say that nicotinic acid competes for niacin, nicotinic acid excretion in the body. So, if you have too much nicotinic acid, the uric acid's not going to come out. And that's not entirely true. And they only saw like an average of 14% increase. That doesn't mean you're going to get gout. If you're already susceptible to getting gout, you might. But I think that problem is solved by buffering your niacin. And then also, if you're buffering your niacin, you have that sodium or potassium to exchange in the kidneys. Because, your kidneys kind of work like a water softener almost. It has to kind of trade. To excrete stuff. It has to excrete sodium, potassium, etc., in order to get some of the yucky stuff out. So it's like a switcheroo. But that's basically it. That's why we do it too. It's not just the teeth thing. And then we notice, it's the way I caught on to this thing about the ammonia is from studies about they gave people nicotinic acid and they got ammonia in their breath. So that if there's ammonia in their breath, that means there's ammonia in your blood, and since it's volatile, they were picking it up on a breathalyzer basically that could test for ammonia. So yeah, so that's my answer. So we know that we don't want ammonia in the blood. It doesn't feel good. And let's see what else we got here. All right. Emma is asking about gallstones dissolve away on this program. Let's see. Yeah, that might be a question for Dr. Smith. He knows a little bit more about gallstones. I'm not terribly familiar with that. Is that an official question though? Let's see. Or is that a question for Zendog?
I'll address gallstones a little bit.
Okay.
So let me find that question so I can make sure to, or Joe, could you post it so I can see it? So, well, anyway, gallstones. Oh, you think you heard your gallbladder for the first time the other day? Yeah, we do. Okay. So you heard your gallbladder the other day, and there was the betaine HCl. So betaine HCl is obviously an attempt to acidify the stomach, and it can work. If you watch my bile reflux, the GERD episode, the heartburn episode, then you'll learn about there's two main kinds of reflux. One is bile dominant, that is not acidic, and then there's bile with acid. The bile with acid is the worst, the most damaging. Okay, so let's talk about. You were saying, I think, well, somebody was saying they were talking about their stomach wasn't moving, and then was that the same person? I think, Emma, were you saying like your stomach doesn't move, like it doesn't digest well if food just sits there? So that's like gastroparesis. So gastroparesis, like paralysis of the stomach. Well, I've shown especially the Rockefeller studies from 1905 and 1906, the toxicity of bile studies, that bile paralyzes things. Bile causes paralysis. So if you were having reflux into your stomach of bile, well, if you have any type of reflux, I mean, go watch that episode. If you have any type of reflux, heartburn, GERD, silent reflux, you got a chronic cough, whatever, then you've got bile in your stomach and in your esophagus. Okay, so if you have enough bile and it's toxic enough, it will start to reduce function. Like your stomach, the valve, the lower esophageal sphincter at the top of your stomach is supposed to stay closed, contracted. If it weakens and gets paralyzed, it gets stuck open. You see, so that's how reflux happens. You get bile in the stomach, it affects your valve, and then it stays open, and then you get heartburn and reflux. Then if we have the stomach actually is full of bile all the time, the stomach can slowly become paralyzed over time. And then we get gastroparesis. Then we may have, other things, constipation. I mean, constipation could be bile in your intestines, and it's got a recipe or an amount that it's actually slowing your bile. I mean, slowing the movement of things. So gallstones come about. Stones in general come about because things are stagnant and sitting there. Think of like a river where there's those pools that are not moving with the rest of the water. And where does all the algae grow? Does the algae grow in the flowing water, or does the algae and the even today you can see like iron deposits in these stagnant areas. Like you can see the reddish, that's iron in there. So you could see algae growing, you could see calcification happening, you could see red iron deposits. Crystals, stones happen when things are stagnant. So back to the whole thing. What does your gallbladder hold? It holds bile. What does toxic bile cause after a while? Paralysis. What would make your gallbladder stagnant? A paralyzed gallbladder that's not squeezing out the bile. So it's just sitting there getting stale. That's how this all works. Like bile that's not moving creates stones. Bile hitting your kidneys can cause kidney stones. What's the biggest component of nearly all stones? Calcium. What causes calcium problems? Vitamin A toxicity, vitamin D supplements, copper toxicity, dairy, drinking 4 times as much calcium in dairy milk than what would be in human breast milk. Taking calcium supplements when they're not needed. There may be very rare situations where they're needed, but you start playing with that fire, and if you're not testing, boy, you may end up causing yourself a lot of problems. So there was somebody in the Love Your Liver program who said they took some TUDCA, and what they said was gallstones. That got better. They changed the recipe of their bile. That's what they did. So maybe that changed the recipe. I don't know how it would dissolve gallstones. I don't know how a bile acid, when you got a bile problem, would dissolve gallstones. But what I'm saying is they changed the recipe of their bile, and something changed in their symptoms. Okay, so then we have Chonca-piedra, which is an herb known as like stone breaker or something like that. If somebody knew they had gallstones, I would be okay with somebody doing a course of that. Should they be on it forever? No, it would be like do a course of it like a month or two, and then you should see improvements. If you don't, then stop taking it. Simple as that. If you think you have kidney stones, you start doing citrates like potassium citrate powder. We use the micro ingredients stuff. I really like potassium citrate powder. I mean, it is my favorite potassium by far. You could do, the juice of, if you were trying to get rid of kidney stones, you could do the juice of a lemon or two a day. You got to watch your teeth though, because that is pretty acidic on your teeth also. Then there could be, magnesium citrate. If you wanted to do magnesium citrate, both to get some citric acid in you to help dissolve the stones, and for the magnesium to maybe help you poop, then you would want to do it needs to be like the natural calm type of magnesium citrate. Okay. If you want to use magnesium citrate to help you poop, and that's it, you can get the preformed magnesium citrate powder, or you could get the preformed pills. That will only help you poop. If you want to get the citrate out of it and the potential laxative effect, the natural, like non-habit forming laxative effect of magnesium, then you want to get the natural calm, the plain stuff without the sweeteners, without the sperm damaging stevia and all that stuff. Just get it plain. It's kind of tart. It's magnesium citrate. And then you want it to react in the water. So what is natural calm? It's actually magnesium carbonate and citric acid. Does anybody who knows about buffered niacin understand what they're doing here? Magnesium carbonate reacts with the citric acid and it makes magnesium citrate. Just like if you take magnesium carbonate to buffer niacin, nicotinic acid, you get magnesium nicotinate, and then you get the fizz. Okay. We're gonna eventually make a magnesium carbonate and citric acid supplement. We're eventually don't email Julie about these things. These companies, these supplement companies, they take months and months and months to make stuff. So don't ask about supplements when they're going to be out. I have never dealt with an industry like the supplement manufacturer industry where they are so slow and incompetent at their jobs. I have never in my life dealt with such incompetence as in the supplement manufacturer industry. We are on our fourth company because it's absolutely atrocious. So if you want to email Julie and ask her when this is going to be out, we can't tell you. We can't tell you that. It is the most annoying thing I've ever dealt with. So anyway, we're working on things. Just know that as soon as we have things ready, we will tell you. Don't email Julie about supplements when they're going to come out. We don't know. We have something shipping to us right now. I haven't even got the tracking number. I don't know what's wrong with these people. Anyway, that's enough. I'm a little frustrated. Okay, so I'll let it go back to Kelsey now.
Okay. Yeah, on that, I have made it myself too. So maybe I can offer some natural calm. I did make a dupe and I called it Serenity, just as a play on their name, Calm. So maybe that's something I can offer in my store in the future until Dr. Smith gets something official. But it's really not hard to make. Again, it's like buffering niacin with niacin with the base, except you have citric acid acting as the acid instead of nicotinic acid. All right, so what do we got? Something about poop and alcohol. Okay, yeah, that happens. People do get the. Okay, somebody's asking. Okay, baptized in fire. Can we buy your tooth powder currently? I did get sick. I'll admit it. I still do get sick, and this is actually good for me. I like it when I get sick. There was a period of time when I was really, really chronically ill, and I did not get colds or sickness either. And most people would think that was a good thing, but the more you look into Dr. Smith's material and body of work, you realize, wow, that was not a good way to be. I was not detoxing properly. I was not having these, big bile dumps and, getting that stuff out. But anyways, I dressed. So I got sick. And it wasn't too bad. And I was planning on opening it like Saturday, but I still needed some time to catch up from being sick for a few days. So I think I'm probably gonna open it maybe tomorrow or Friday or something at the latest. So yeah, everybody will be able to purchase again very soon. And thanks everybody for your support. I'm a scientist and not really a business person, and I haven't had an official job in quite a while since I had my children and decided to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm just getting used to learning all the tricks of the trade and everything like that. And I really had to pause the shop for a while to increase shipping times. Not increase shipping times, to lower the amount of time it's taking me to ship and make everything and label everything, bottle everything, order supplies, all that too. So everything's being revamped, and it'll be open soon. So thanks for everybody's patience, and thank you for your support there. Let's see. So what else we got? That was a great question. Okay, Sebastian. Okay, so you're recovering from ulcerative colitis. Yeah, you should definitely look in the program about the niacinamide and the research I posted about that, and how, niacin, it was only like, let's see if I'm remembering correctly. It was only like 300 milligrams in this tiny little enema, like 4 ounces. And they were doing this for about 3 months. And like a picture's worth 1,000 words. You can look at that study and just see the huge difference in what these people's colons look like after that. So I would definitely check that out. That is an interesting study. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and also when you're eating too much sugar too, it's just it's like an osmotic thing as well. If you're having like high glucose, that's going to bring more water into the bowels. So yes, you're going to poop more, but that's just osmosis. That's not because something's improving. It's just your body senses that there's too much solute inside the gut. Well, not really senses, it just happens. Osmosis is just a thing that happens naturally, and it's going to bring more water to kind of equalize that into the gut. So that's why that sugar can be a bit of a laxative if in high doses. Like xylitol on the other end of that. Most of it stays in the gut. When you take xylitol, like half of it stays in the gut, and it's going to attract water into there because so much of it is staying in the gut and not being absorbed, that water is going to naturally come in. And anybody who's taken xylitol or any sugar alcohol like that that's not well absorbed, it's going to bring water in. You're gonna have a bad time. Okay, what else we got? Yeah, Baptized in Fire said gout attacks and uric blood acid level don't really correlate. Yeah, that's basically true. From what I've read, it's not always the same thing. Sorry, I'm new at this. Let me check in the chat. Wish I had some elevator music or something. Fill in the dry spots. Okay, so what do we got? Oh, you're waiting on the Nia soda. Okay, great. Yeah, the Nia soda is really, really good. We're talking, Dr. Smith was just talking about the citrates, and I already have the citrate in there because I use the lemon juice as well for flavor, and I think it gives citrates in there too. So it's nice. So with the Nia soda, you're getting potassium, sodium, and magnesium too. In the ratios that I looked in the research and I thought would be the best and most, kind of baseline for most people to work with. I saw earlier that somebody said that they felt like they asked me if niacin depletes sodium. Well, it's got sodium in it. And you need sodium. Some people say that, oh, don't buffer with the baking soda. Nobody needs more sodium. It's actually not that much when you look at it. The upper limits of sodium, according to most sources, is about like 9,000 milligrams. It's very high. And when you're actually looking at how much sodium is in like the baking soda, it's only like 30% of its weight. So you're not actually getting that crazy amount of sodium. And in your stomach and your gut has nicotinic acid and sodium receptors that co-transport together. So it's actually kind of good to take them both. Oh, my mommy just called me. My mommy, the dentist. How fitting. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'll have to call her back later. Anyways, yeah. So okay. So she felt like it depleted sodium. Well, there's sodium in there. My earlier versions of niacin did have a little bit of sea salt in there. One thing that sea salt does, which is nice, is if you have a sweet thing, it kind of sensitizes the receptors on the tongue to taste sweet better. So you've probably seen people put salt on their watermelon or salt on their pineapple or something like that. It does make things taste sweeter. And the idea behind that was to put less sugar in the niacin, but have it kind of, taste more sweet and nice. Sometimes I think about adding a little bit back, but I'm not sure. But yeah, you could always add a pinch of like Jacobsen salt if that feels good to you to it. To do so, if that makes you feel like it's working even better, that's great. Yeah. Or like Dr. Smith, sometimes he adds more potassium citrate. So, feel free within reason. Okay, don't y'all go messing yourselves up and blaming my niacin. But if you do want to experiment with it a little bit, let me know if there's something you like or you enjoy with your niacin. I'd love to know about that. Yeah, just don't mess yourself up. What do we got? Hi, Mom. Is she listening in? I don't know. I'll have to see later. I can only focus on so many things. Oh, Dr. Smith found vegetable laxative dextrose oral powder. All right, there you go. So Sebastian, you were taking a laxative. That's why you're pooping so well. Wow. Mystery solved, I guess, huh? All right. Okay, Emma is talking about. Thanks, Joe, for answering the question about osmosis. Yeah, but if I got too technical at that, it's probably because it was so long ago that everybody learned about that. But yeah, if you want to learn more about osmosis and how osmotic laxatives work, there's basically two kinds. There's the osmotic, which is like magnesium oxide and glucose and vitamin C and everything that just bring more water into there. And then there's things that will actually like make your guts contract basically and just squeeze the toothpaste tube and just, force that out. Or there's other things that are just so toxic that are going to cause a bile dump and, just things are going to shoot right out because your body wants to get rid of that so badly. All right. So Emma says, still on the fence about, Dr. Smith, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the water thing.
Sure.
Okay. So Emma was wondering about the RO thing, and she says she's taking, she added some salt to her water and these other things. Now, I'm not against any of that. The key thing is you want clean water. Okay. Every single municipal water supply in this country has been shown to have rocket fuel in it. Every single one. If you want, go and look at the ewg.org, type in EWG water database, and go look at their water database for where you're at. It's a disaster. If you're out there on well water and you have never tested it for all these like organic toxins and toxic metals, whether it's iron, like if your sinks or your any of your porcelain stuff in your bathrooms is red, you've got iron in there. If it smells like rotten eggs, you've got hydrogen sulfide in there. If it's making turquoise deposits on things, you've got copper in there. Like, these are just the easy things we can see. You want clean water, okay? It is. I don't care if you put the little tape with love on your water bottle or whatever. I don't care if you're drinking medications which are in municipal water supplies. Okay, when they're the powers that be that filter our water for us so kindly can't seem to manage to get the pharmaceuticals out of our water. Is that planned, or is it just an accident, or they're just incompetent, or they just don't want to do it because they want to medicate everybody? I don't know. But if you're taking in forever chemicals and you're taking in pharmaceuticals and you're taking in toxic metals and you're taking in all this nasty stuff because you don't like clean water, good luck with that. Good luck. I want clean water first. Then, if you have to take a little more, now we have lots of people, Emma. I mean, maybe Kelsey could talk about her pots. Kelsey, after I'm done, talk about your pots and how maybe you used to have to take more minerals to kind of medicate it. If you did, I don't know that you've talked to me about that before, but you could do that. And so some people at the start of the program, some of them need more sodium. Some of them need a lot more potassium. Some of them need a lot more magnesium. These are what I really consider the electrolytes. If you need those at the start, it's because you're deficient in them, and it is the toxicities that is depleting them. One of the things I see with people who get better and actually pay attention is if they needed a lot more extra salt, like they always salted their water and all that nonsense. Like, we don't drink seawater. There's a reason we don't drink seawater. I always see people, like, after a while, that salt water, if they're doing things right, they don't need to salt their water. Okay, when you drink water, it just mixes with your body. It's not the way people talk about like distilled water or reverse osmosis. It's almost like they think that it's like this blob. It's like a blob that moves through your body and it's just sucking things. No, it just mixes in. It's like I always tell people, like when I talk about clean water, I say, okay, so if you have a gallon of water, clean, pure water, and you add 1 drop of sewage to it, do you want to drink that water anymore? And they go, no. I say, so the clean water is the most important thing. But what if they put the little love sticker on it and they charge it and they do all this? There's shit in the water. Okay? Don't drink shit in your water. That's the most important thing. I don't care if you put the energy in it and what, I don't care. Clean water. Okay? First. If you need more minerals, you add more minerals. Over time, you won't have to add more minerals. Next, anyone out there who's paying attention to hair test minerals for sodium and potassium, you're wasting your time. You can take as much, if you have low sodium and potassium on a hair test, I knew a guy, he was taking in 25 grams of salt a day. 25 grams. His hair test sodium was like a 1 or a 2. Which is low. Your hair test sodium and potassium do not reflect anything about your intake. Ignore hair test practitioners that obsess over your sodium and potassium on a hair test. You want to know how I fix sodium and potassium on a hair test? I fix everything else, and then the hair test fixes itself for sodium and potassium. If you read stuff on the internet about hair testing and you think you know anything about hair testing, and this is for anybody, it's garbage. It's all garbage. I reverse engineered everything. I learned hair analysis. I went back and I reverse engineered everything. And hair analysis teachings out there are trash. We fix hair analysis by doing very specific things to affect the things that we can affect. And sodium and potassium are effects of everything else. They're not causes. You cannot raise your sodium on a hair test by drinking salt water. You could take tons of potassium and it may not raise your hair potassium at all, because they are effects of everything else. They are not causes. So if you need more minerals, you need more minerals. That's it. Don't go and drink toxic water because you want, remember, any filter out there that says it leaves all the good minerals in your water, it's leaving all the toxic minerals in your water too. The filters don't choose like, oh, this is a good one and this is a bad one. It doesn't do that. Take all the shit out of your water. Drink clean water. This should not, this is really, really important. That's why I wanted to answer this. If you need to put a pinch of salt in your water, and like Kelsey, I'm going to let Kelsey take the stage back again to talk about her POTS and how she may have medicated it with minerals, and her POTS is getting better on the Love Your Liver program while she's drinking clean water and she's needing less minerals. If she, I'm assuming that's what she's going to say. So I'm done. Kelsey, you can take the stage now.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. So one of the treatments for POTS, and they think that you don't have enough blood volume, right? So your brain senses that there's low oxygen because of this low blood volume when you stand up, because it's called, POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia. And what that means is basically you sit up, and it changes. Where static means, you're changing the way you sit, your posture, you're going from sitting to standing, and you get tachycardia, which means fast heartbeat. So this sounds like no big deal to people who haven't had POTS, like, oh, your heart rate gets higher when you sit up. No, it's actually even some doctors that treat it are admitting this. This is one of the worst chronic diseases to have. It's really awful. People don't think about all the kind of, stuff that comes along with that. But I digress. One of the few things that helped was taking vasopressin, which increases the amount of electrolytes that your kidneys reabsorb. And it's a natural hormone, but I was supplementing it because obviously I was toxic and I wasn't, because of that, or deficient, and I wasn't making my own enough of this vasopressin to keep my minerals, basically. So that did help a little bit for a while, but again, drug-like effect. And then one of the other treatments they have for POTS is they have some people taking 10, 12 grams of salt a day just to keep their blood volume up, so they have less of this, so they can retain water, so they can have more blood in their flowing around in their body, so that their brain does get enough oxygen, and you don't get this hyper reaction that the body thinks that the brain is starving, and doubles or more the heart rate to keep up with that when you stand up. So yeah, minerals are important, but like Dr. Smith said, is your body should be able to regulate things like this when you are getting, when you stop intoxing, when you do the Love Your Liver program, when you cure your pellagra, which is nicotinic acid deficiency. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Okay, so we have a super chat. Dylan Black, thank you for your question. Asks, should you cut back on nicotinic acid when you're sick? Should you? I don't. I feel like the niacin makes me feel better and makes me get over it quicker, because I feel like it's helping to process the toxins that are coming out. At the same time, niacin can be a bile dumper, meaning it increases the excretion of bile. And you think that would be too much on my system because I'm dumping bile and then I'm also taking nicotinic acid as well. But people tend to forget also that nicotinic acid also does a lot of the cleanup too. But again, that's just me. That's what I do. Not everybody's gonna want to push the niacin when they're feeling sick. So that's just going to be one of those things that you're going to have to figure out for yourself is, and then also based on your other bile dumping symptoms, how you do. Like if you're bile dumping and you take more nicotinic acid, do you feel better or do you feel worse? It can be different for everybody. So it's going to be, again, the same if you have a quote unquote head cold or flu or something like that too. It's just, you're going to have to look at kind of your pattern and your relationship with the nicotinic acid and the buffer and all that, and what you do when you have other kind of bile dumping symptoms that aren't necessarily presenting as a head cold or a flu, what we used to think were infectious diseases, right? So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I like to not cut back on it, and I feel like it does help the sinuses too, especially if you're stuffy. I do the niacin spray, or I even nebulize niacin. But again, like I'm more of a sledgehammer type, so that's not going to be advice for everyone. A lot of people are more sensitive, and if they're already having a head cold like symptoms and they increase their niacin, they're going to have a bad time. So as for me though, one of the things I do cut back on if I am having a cold is I cut back on lactoferrin. So that's where I go first instead of the nicotinic acid. Yeah, but again, it's going to be different for everybody. You just have to look at your patterns for other bile dumping symptoms. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Dylan. And what else we got here? Okay, so Alex is saying I used to do like 5 to 6 extra pinches of salt throughout the day. Since I found I rarely need even 1 pinch of extra salt a week now. Yeah, I mean, this is just basic things. Your body should be able to sleep by itself. Your body should be able to breathe. It's like if you can't control your salt level and which is just a very basic function that all life needs to do, and control the brew and the levels in your blood and your blood pH. There's something really wrong there that you're having to take in so much salt. So that's why this program fixes that. Definitely don't get POTS very much anymore. I think the last episode I had was maybe a few weeks ago or something like that, and before that it had been a few months. So yeah, I'm doing a lot better. And so once we fix the toxicities and deficiencies, your body can do that very basic function again and control the level of electrolytes really well. And you will find that you will probably find, if you're doing the program and doing it right, you won't need to supplement with salt in your water, or electrolytes in general. All right. Okay, Dylan also asked, are you taking more oxidative compounds when you're sick, Dr. Smith? Well, I guess that would be the 3-letter one, or ozone or something. Some people do. That's something if you want to investigate. Some people do that. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting about the sinuses. Yes. Some people feel a little bit of tingle in their nose when they take the niacin flush too. So I think it really helps. Like I noticed that if you feel blocked up, or if I feel blocked up and I take it, then it just, at least it helps it come out, and just not stagnate in there and make you feel awful or make you get the headache. Dr. Smith, did you want to chime in?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that. Okay. So when I had this little teeny cold, and like I said, I mean, I don't even know if I would have thought it was a cold if, normally. Was I doing extra oxidative compounds? Well, one of the things that I did a lot of, I did do, for those of you who are in the what to do if I get sick course, I did what I say to do in there. I practice as I preach. I was resting. I did less on those days because you want to save the energy to, rebuild and fix things. In terms of oxidative stuff, I did do the hydrogen peroxide in my ears. As soon as I started feeling like I wasn't feeling good and I recognized it, I did the hydrogen peroxide in my ears. If you don't know about this, it's amazing. It just shuts, it just makes everything nicer. Like you can feel like your head clearing up after. So hydrogen peroxide is obviously an oxidizer. Okay. I did lots of flush niacin. I was flushing twice a day with 2,500 milligrams. Sometimes I was using Kelsey's Niasoda Black sometimes. And sometimes I was doing my own mixture here at home of kind of like this mega. I mean, I was doing so I'm not saying this is for everybody to do. I'm saying I can take big doses. I'm an overtype. I can do these things because I know, I'm almost 6 years deep in this. I know what I can do. So if you think that just because this is what I'm doing, it's right for you, you may find out the hard way that it may not be for you. So I was doing like my mix right now. If I do my kind of mega mix, it was a teaspoon of flush niacin, which is 2,500 milligrams. It's a half teaspoon of magnesium carbonate, which is a little over buffered. It's a little more than you need. I put in 1,000 milligrams of potassium citrate. I put in a scoop of sun fiber, and I believe I put in, well, I'm not going to go into some of the other things I put in because they're prototype products, and I don't want anybody emailing Julie about when they're going to be available. So Julie tells me, please don't tell people about this new supplements, because then people email Julie about it and they ask her when's it going to be out, and she doesn't know, and I don't know either. And I talk about ideas, and it just makes it for a pain in the butt for Julie. But anyway, so I mix all that together. I put in I put in a teaspoon of glutamine too. So yeah, I was doing niacin twice a day, and I was continuing. I felt good enough that I continued to work out and go out in the heat. Are those oxidative things? Yes. So I was oxidizing. Depending upon how I felt, had I felt worse, I would not have done these things. This is the first time I've ever been sick where I was purposely going out. I mean, it was 107 and humid in Tucson yesterday. I didn't go out in that weather, but I did walk in the morning, and I did get sweaty. I took my flush and I went for my walk out in the Tucson morning heat, which I think our lows are like 78 or 82. That's our low at night right now. So I was going out walking. I went and I worked out last night. I did the steam room and all that stuff. So those are oxidative therapies. Don't get me wrong. Those are heat oxidizes, light oxidizes. I did the tanning bed. I decided this was an experiment for me. I wanted to hit it hard. I was like, am I well enough now that if I oxidize it, will it just take care of it? I thought about I'll say it backwards. I thought about the SMM doing that. I just never got around to it. I just didn't. I felt the weird thing was where I'm at in my detox now. I would do my flush niacin and I'd feel so much better for hours. It was astonishing. Like I was just like, wow, that just like cleared everything up. So that's what I did. I'm not saying to do that. I know my ex-wife had this weird theory of like, oh, when she starts to get sick, she would just go eat a bunch of spicy food. She was like, I'm going to burn it out. And I was like, that's not how this works. Like you don't go and take plant chemical warfare to make your body feel better. Like, why don't we just use pepper spray every time somebody gets sick? That doesn't make any sense. It's a stressor. It would cause you to dump more bile, and it's a toxin, which is why it hurts. So sometimes people's logic doesn't work out for them. So anyway, I didn't do that this time. Could I have? Actually, it did come to mind at one point, but I just never got around to it. So if that happens again, I may do it, but I did do other oxidative therapies. But the thing you must realize about oxidative therapies, again, is that they can cause more bile dumping. ALDH is an oxidative enzyme. You start taking the load off of ALDH, and then you start seeing more bile dumping, which is what's causing the cold or the flu or whatever you're experiencing. So we just need to, you have to experiment and know where you're at. And generally, the sicker you are, the more toxic you are. The worse your colds or flus are, the more toxic you are, and probably the less you should pound those things when you do it. I'm almost 6 years in, and I'm an overtype, and I took the chance, the experiment this time, to just hammer it, and I feel like it's working. I mean, I feel like it did work. So that's what we got. So okay, Kelsey, you can come back on.
Okay, cool. All right. So somebody asked about, Head was asking about, is there a discharge in the sinuses when you take niacin? Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about this too. Is that kind of maybe a post-nasal drip sensation? And what I like to think about that is that it's not just the sinuses clearing. I think it's the brain clearing a little bit too. I think one of the ways your brain cleanses itself is to dump some of that cerebral spinal fluid down the throat. I don't know if this is anatomically correct. I'll have to verify on that, but I think it does it in one of those ways. And I think nicotinic acid probably helps that process as well, clearing the nose running from niacin is detox of the brain. Oh yeah, I think so too. So I think it just helps run all those processes. It's like Dr. Smith says, a lot of times it's the gasoline for the engine of the car to run all these over 400 detoxification enzymes. So yeah, if your brain is suddenly experiencing a lot of that, it's probably going to come out that way. That makes a lot of sense to me. What was I going to say about that? Yeah, then you're swallowing your dirty brain juice. This is not great, but that's how it works. Well, I guess we're always swallowing our saliva. So okay, so where did the chat go? Shoot, I lost the chat. Lost the plot. Earwax is detox of the brain. This is Dr. Smith. Yes, I think so too. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Emma asks, what has been the kingpin knot for you on the program? The thing that made you go, oh, absolutely, this is the way. Well, I was going to try to share this. I don't know if I could. I just took a picture of my eyes, and you can still see that there's, I don't know how to get it up on here, but I have these things, they're called orange palpebral spots, and I'll type that in. And palpebral just means like your eyelid, basically. I don't know if I'm spelling this right, but okay. I've never been much of a speller. It's just not one of my intelligence things. I'm smart, but spelling, I didn't get that. I didn't stand in that line. But I had these spots, and they'd always been there, and they showed up, when I started getting really, really sick, like really feeling awful, like 6 or 7 years ago. They showed up. I never knew what they were. I think I had probably researched it at the time, and I was like, oh, okay, that's carotenoids or whatever. Okay, so I didn't know they were so toxic. And I didn't know that meant that my liver was really overburdened. But that's what kind of clinched it for me when I heard Dr. Smith talk about keratinema, and maybe he even mentioned the spots too, or something like that. And it just went, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my gosh, I have those spots. And I was jaundiced at birth too. So, when I heard that about that, yeah, thank you. Thank you for pulling that up. Mine don't quite look that bad anymore, but yeah, they're still there. And I feel like they get darker too. Sometimes when I'm having a bile dump, that could just be my imagination. But yeah, they're still there. And I'm not really trying to treat them or anything. I'm just going to take it as like, I know that I've really hit a stride if they start to fade, because even though I'm on the Love Your Liver program for like maybe over a year now, and I had niacin, about a year and a half before that. I know it's still going to be a long haul for me because I was born jaundiced, and it's I spent a lot of time toxifying myself, and I know that I've still got work to do. So when those start to fade, I'm just going to take it as a good sign that that I'm getting better. I think Dr. Smith says, correct me if I'm wrong here, says something like, if you still have carotenoids in your skin, it's not gonna get lower in your blood, basically. So that's just a sign for me that I haven't gotten rid of enough to be able to lower the amounts in my blood and lower the amounts in my skin. And that's okay. It's going to be a long haul. I did all the bad things, just like many of you. Weston Price, cod liver oil, astaxanthin. I pretty sure I took some vitamin A and D and all that too. So it's just going to be time. The missing factor is time. But that's what really clinched it, is hearing about those spots. So that's not going to be everybody's experience, obviously, but for me, it was very personal. Finally knowing what those are, and that those were a sign of liver toxicity. Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Oh yeah, I did the hydrogen peroxide in my ears too. I liked it. My mommy, my mommy used to do it for me when I was little as well, and I remembered enjoying it, especially after when I was having an earache. It seemed to make it feel better, and I think it made this cold a little bit more mild for me. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Aiden Pennington he's talking about varicose veins. Yeah, I had varicose veins too. I wasn't chubby or anything. You think like if you have more pressure, you're going to put more pressure on the legs. You're going to have poor circulation. But I was having varicose veins so bad at like 31, and I was only 130, 140 pounds at the time. It didn't make sense why I was having these. But it got so bad, and I was having POTS at the time too, so that kind of affects it. But it got so bad that insurance paid for me to get surgery for that. It's bad when insurance is going to pay for that. So yeah, before how I treated it before that was to go on the blood type diet, because I started noticing that certain things like bananas and red meat were aggravating it. So going on the blood type diet helped. But again, that didn't solve the whole problem. It's not, I should have been able to eat those very healthy foods, because we like red meat, we like bananas on the program. And it was just that I was too toxic and deficient to be able to handle those foods at the time. And now I have no problem. When I used to eat those foods that weren't on my blood type diet, I would literally feel those varicose veins start to get aggravated. I would feel them aching, and it would not be a good sign. So, but definitely this program, I could eat those foods now just fine, and it's not giving me varicose veins. I still do get a little bit of swelling in my my ankle sometimes, but that's just when I'm on my feet too much, and I'm running around too much, or not getting enough sleep is when that seems to happen. I think my body's handling minerals. Okay. What else we got? Kelsey, how did you find Garrett? I have a channel called Ivermectin Kills, and I was posting a lot about the ivermectin scam and everything. Maybe some of you have seen that video that I did with Dr. Smith about it. I had a channel before that, fairly popular. I mean, a few hundred people. And somebody posted in my chat of that Telegram channel, because you can have like a channel and then you have a chat where people talk about what you posted. Somebody posted some of his videos in there, and yeah, I think it was Yaroslav. He goes by Yaroslav on my chat. He started posting those videos, and they were just awesome. I was just blown away. Dr. Smith just sounded so different from any other practitioner I had ever heard, and it was just really refreshing, like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the way. Like, whoa, he's, so it was so cool. And, one of the things I love the most is that just acknowledging that it's going to take time. It's going to take time. There's no magic pill. Like, and you don't have to push yourself too. I just love the freedom that I had, that it was okay to have time to heal, and that I didn't have to keep pressuring myself to finally, find a cure that was going to fix me. The missing factor was just time. And that was a big revelation for me. And that was very refreshing. Yeah. So what else we got here? Are you guys a fan of folic acid supplements with niacin? Okay. This is a good question. So here's the thing. I know a lot of people, in general, I do not like B vitamins. I think that this, nicotinic acid is not a B vitamin. It's amino acid if you look at it, and that's what's just kind of so insidious about the whole vitamin scam, is that they made us, the pharmaceutical industry are the ones that discovered them, and got the governments to fortify everything. And the more I look at these vitamins, the more it looks like the reason why they're added is to keep bugs from eating them. A lot of them work as pesticides. So I think they kind of told us about quote unquote vitamins in order for them to be able to add pesticides to protect their product, and to also low key keep us not healthy and keep us, clients for life, basically. If you have a mill full of grain, you don't want to lose a bunch of it to bugs. So, yeah. So anyways, sorry, my daughter's saying, hi, sweetie. Where was I? So yeah, but folic acid isn't the worst one. Folic acid can act almost as a replacement for nicotinic acid if you look at them. And I could get into the whole MTHFR thing, but it basically just blanket statement. Some people are going to get upset about this, but there's no such thing as MTHFR without niacin deficiency, without pellagra. It's a made up thing by the supplement companies. And all it means is that you need a little bit more nicotinic acid to methylate your folic acid, basically. But they don't want you to know that, because Merck invented methylfolate, and they would rather you take theirs and think that there's something inherently wrong with you instead of taking a bit more niacin. Okay, so what's next? All right, I don't see, if anybody has any more questions, I don't see any more, but Joe, is there any questions I missed, or Dr. Smith? Is there anything else we should talk about?
No. I was actually just posting. Let me finish posting this link, because I was posting about Merck and the American Chemical Society. I think I've talked about this in the live stream before. ACS is the American Chemical Society, and they're congratulating each other on the B vitamin complex and how they're helping all of us so much. Merck and the American Chemical Society love us so much. Yeah, so I think we're done. We got through it with my voice being crap. So let me say thank you from all of us to Kelsey. Thank you for joining us, Kelsey. It was a great thing you could do to help me out on such short notice with my voice. Now I have to go to the inner circle all by myself. So anyway, maybe we'll have Kelsey. I mean, but Kelsey and I have some other videos to do. We still have to do the P-glycoprotein and video about that. Maybe she could do another niacin. Maybe she could do a flush niacin video, and we could do that. So we have other special videos that we're going to be coming out with. And if you haven't seen our methylene blue video, or if you haven't shared that one with anyone you know who's considering taking a toxic dye, you should go back a couple episodes and find that one. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. Remember, if you want to find my links, nutritiondetective.com is below in the video information. And you can, if you want to go to the Love Your Liver program, there's members.nutritiondetective.com. That is the DIY program of my life's work. If you want to work with a practitioner, then you can find that on the website. If you want to look at our supplements, we're working on all sorts of things to come out very soon. But like I said, those supplement manufacturers, man, boy, they disappointing would be the key word there. So anyway, we'll let you all go. We will see you next week. Have a great week. We'll see you then. Bye.